The Indians seem to have been less concerned about military organization than about renouncing the world and finding enlightenment. But nirvana isn't just down the road. To reach it is a very, very long journey, which takes a very, very long time. And to convey that fact, the Indians came up with some stupendously big numbers. Take a raju, for example. A raju is the distance covered by God in 6 months. If he travels 1,000,000 kilometers in every blink of his eyelid. Or how about a palya? A palya is the length of time it would take me to build a cube of lamb's wool 10 kilometers high, if I were to lay one strand every century. Here's one I made earlier. Well, these were the sort of numbers that could have made one feel, well, small, if he hadn't had a little help from his friends. Unlike the Romans, the Indians devised a system that could cope with vast numbers. They developed a different symbol for every number from 1 to 9. 1, 2, 3. Or if you do them quickly, you get Arabic numerals.
नहीं है, अरबी नहीं है, ये हमारा हिंदुस्तानियों का बनाया हुआ है. हम लोग हिंदुस्तानी इसे 2000 वर्ष पहले से प्रयोग कर रहे हैं.
It's right, you know. The numbers we use today are called Arabic, but in fact they began life here in India as early as 500 BC. But then, around 1500 years ago, or a little longer if you're watching a repeat of this program, someone came up with a stupendous, incredible, extraordinary idea. The biggest revolution in numbers since the Sumerians invented maths. A creation that would change the world. They invented an entirely new number. And it's in here, inside this tiny 1100-year-old temple in Gwalior, northern India, is this new number. And after a 4,000-mile journey, I'm finally going to get to see it. Nick, it's locked. So we wait, and while we wait, I start to wonder, how was it that this new number wasn't invented sooner? It's such a simple little number that takes only a moment to say and even less to write. Ah, here he is. But once invented, it transformed the life of one in a way that would eventually change the entire world. Here we are, the first undisputed example of India's greatest invention, the new number, the holy grail of numbers. 0. For the first time in human history, someone had made nothing a number. The inscription says that a garden was planted to produce flowers for the temple. And to ensure that they had enough, that garden had to be 187 by 270 hastas, about 20 acres. Well, while the Romans were using numbers to record their conquests and count dead bodies, these people were using them to make sure they had adequate supplies for their flower arrangements. Well, you might say, what's all the fuss about? I mean, what's so wonderful about inventing a symbol that means nothing? I mean, if somebody asks me how much I've got in my hand, I can just say, well, I haven't got anything in my hand. I don't need a 0 to do that. Well, a 0 on its own would be nothing. Well, obviously. But when you teamed 0 up with 1, magic started to happen. And when they were joined by the rest of the troop, the results were spectacular. With just 10 digits, the Indians could make numbers infinitely large, as well as infinitely small. Now the Romans could